Hey there, and greetings from LAX, where today I will finally be flying aboard a first-class business class product, American Airlines 787-9 Flagship Business, to be exact, over to Dallas. It's been a long time coming, but with the new channel change will also come with more than just economy on every flight now. Mistakenly, my Uber driver dropped me off at Terminal 5 here, which does have American check-in counters and kiosks, but my flight will actually be departing from Terminal 4, AA's main LAX terminal. So, after printing out paper boarding passes and heading over to Terminal 5's checkpoint upstairs, they redirected me over to Terminal 4's security. It's important to note first and foremost that flagship business class on this domestic flight is actually marketed as first class, as it is their highest product on board. So, I do have all the priority access today, including a check-in, but since I didn't have any checked luggage, really didn't need to even use it. After scooting over to Terminal 4, I again headed upstairs to the checkpoint, and after a 15-minute wait, I was through. But American does have a priority lane for first class and other, important people. For some reason, though, the guy wasn't letting me through, so I guess I wasn't important enough for him. Terminal 4 is used solely by American and is also located closest to the Tom Bradley International Terminal out ahead, accessible by walkway. Besides TBIT, the rest of LAX's terminals are very similar to each other, with some minor design changes by each airline. They consist of terminals 1 through 8, and they're laid out around a loop. This terminal is alright, and is definitely one of the better concourses, but the proximity to TBIT and this rotunda area, which is made even better during the holidays, really is what I like most about Terminal 4. Our ride today to DFW will be operated by American's newest Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner, N841AN, which at the time of filming wasn't even 2 years old yet. It's one of 22 of the aircraft type in American's fleet. They do have an additional 24 Dreamliners, but they are of the smaller Dash 8 variety. Flying on a shorter domestic flight in first like this does not grant me access to the Admirals Club. That is reserved for select transcon and international flights, along with their members, but wouldn't have even had time anyways to head there as they just started up the boarding process.
Good one. Love it. Thank you.
Group 2 for Dallas, 2338. Group 1.
I was in Group 1 for Dallas this morning. Sorry, I couldn't resist. American's boarding system consists of 9 groups and pre-boarders, with Group 1 being first class executive platinum and active military members, and Group 9 being basic economy.
3L.
3L, you're gonna cross over, make a left.
Thank you.
Oh, here you go.
Thanks.
And there you have it, guys. I made the left turn. Boy, did it feel weird. On board this Boeing 787-9, there are 30 flagship business class seats laid out in a 1-2-1 configuration across the cabin. These particular lie flat seats are their Super Diamond product, which all face forward and offer decent privacy along with plenty of space. I'll go more in depth about some seat features when we're in the air, but here's a general look around this 787-9 flagship business seat. Legroom, first and foremost, is truly incredible for 6-foot me, with my feet not even reaching the footrest in front. Up top is about a 18-inch wide personal TV touchscreen, which is noticeably large. The seat itself has a very well padded headrest up top that is adjustable on both sides. The rest is also quite comfortable with plenty of thick cushion and is also adjustable from the touchscreen on the side. We'll play around with this a little later on. To the right, the counter opens to reveal storage space and a game controller that can also be used instead of touching the big screen. If you are laying down, this can especially be useful. There is also a universal power outlet inside, a headphone jack for the monitor, and a USB port. To the right of that larger storage cubby is a smaller one, good for perhaps some glasses or candies or something else that's small. A literature slot is found further to the right, which is holding the safety card, the American Way magazine, which is now retired, and a barf bag. Found on the wall of the seat is a reading light, along with another small storage cubby a bit further down, and on the other side is a deep storage slot found inside the other armrest, which can be lowered and raised by the lever in front. The tray table is stowed under the monitor and can be pulled out from underneath. The wood look is kind of American's trademark and provides a more business, sophisticated look to the seat. When fully opened, it is very large, but can also be left out half opened if so desired. These business seats conveniently give 2 windows to every passenger, except row 5, which has nothing, and are controlled by the dimming buttons underneath, which take around a minute to fully brighten and vice versa. When we stepped on board, flight attendants handed out these small plastic bags with Biscoff cookies, water, and hand sanitizer for all passengers. So I guess that water would count as the pre-flight beverage on this flight, which by the way was temporarily suspended due to COVID, or so they say. While this will be a lighter flight over to Dallas today, the flagship business section was completely full, and once everyone was boarded, the mood lighting switched on. I do have to say I really like these Super Diamond seats. The details such as that light underneath and the dark gray and white color scheme give off a very modern and high-end look for American, especially for a true business class product. The only negative I have is with the seat belt, which is fine with the bottom strap, but they make you also clip on the top belt, which is supposed to attach to the bottom, and fails at that badly. There's also quite a weirdly shaped armrest on the non-open side, which seems like it should fit your elbow in the notch, but also fails at that. But I mean, I'm just being nitpicky. After settling in, I couldn't wait to push back, and push back we did. Onward to LAX's runway 25 left. Well, with that welcome message, we've just passed 10,000 feet and are on our way to Texas. The flight time today will be 2 hours 15 minutes over to Dallas, cruising at 39,000 feet or roughly 11,900 meters. After our westward takeoff, we've now turned around to the east and will be flying just south of Phoenix before we cross over into New Mexico, near the Mexico-US border, but stay just above until we reach the Texas farmlands and ranches, just above Midland, and then into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. As we continued our climb, the flight attendants dimmed all the windows, which really made prominent the sick mood lighting throughout the cabin. However, they locked them like this for the entire rest of the flight, which sucked. This became a problem for American as time would go on, and they had to issue a statement to flight attendants to quit locking the windows later on in the beginning of 2021. Unfortunately, still gotta pay for Wi-Fi in first class, which I honestly feel it should be included, but nope, $19 it is. Just as we reached our cruise, flight attendants started the cabin service in first class today. At the time, Americans still had a very limited offering for business passengers, again due to COVID, but they did at least bring a selection of drinks back, which I opted for some hot tea. I did recently fly American's flagship business again, and the full service is finally back, and an impressive one at that, so stay tuned down the road. After the drink service came through, another flight attendant passed by taking orders for food.
Would you like the yogurt and granola or the turkey croissant sandwich?
Since it was morning, they had a yogurt and granola option and a turkey croissant sandwich, which I went with the second choice as I'm not the biggest Greek yogurt fan. But I am increasingly becoming a fan of British style tea with cream and sugar, which especially goes well, by the way, with stroopwafels. Unfortunately, this is not United. But anyways, now for the food. Due to the pandemic at the time, American provided everything in plastic bags and paper packages. But normally, this would be handed on a tray with some side items including warm nuts. The drink, by the way, would also be in a proper mug instead of the paper cups. But again, virus. Inside the croissant was a few slices of turkey and Swiss cheese, which also came with some spicy brown mustard on the side. Damn, what a slop. But yeah, for what it was, the turkey croissant was very delicious. There's no secret though, for the price of this flight, which usually averages over $500 in first on the Dreamliner, this is pretty pathetic. And I'm very glad to see American is finally getting semi back to normal these days, because they were very stingy in 2020.
I've been wanting to try this for so long. It's not quite Emirates, but
yeah, not quite Emirates indeed. While there's a lot of space, there's definitely not enough to sit completely on the floor. That'll have to wait for another time. But now for a complete look at these seat features. The touchscreen controller on the side can turn the seat into a recline position, a fully lie flat bed position, and is also customizable by clicking on the arrows, which controls the upper back, the lower back, and the legs portion of the seat. Unlike the coffin seats found originally on American's 787-8s, the Super Diamond suites offer much more space and room when laying down. Even for 6-foot me, the foot area has a decent amount of space when in the sleeping position. Unfortunately, no pillows or blankets were handed out, presumably due to, again, the pandemic, and that it was only a 2-hour flight. But if I did try sleeping on here, definitely would probably get a bit uncomfortable. But this is just to see what it looks like and feels like laying down on the seat.
so guys, I'm 6 foot, and the legroom is pretty decent. Pretty much fit my whole body on the bed.
Like I said earlier, American, as of this video's release, has now retired their in-flight magazine. I have to wonder though if it may return in the future, as United just recently brought their Hemispheres magazine back, but for now it's gone. What it did have though was several route maps, both domestic and international, their hub-focused city airport diagrams, fleet list, and a whole bunch of travel-related articles throughout the rest. As far as the in-flight entertainment offered, I'll go into it just a little later on. For now, just was enjoying this large flight map as we passed over Arizona and New Mexico. After a while at my seat, it was time to take a walk to the bathroom. And instead of the fancier one in Flagship Business, I came back here to the peasant section, which has this outhouse of a lab for all the delinquents back here. In all seriousness, it's pretty spacious and nice for it acting as the least fancy lab on this plane. Speaking of those peasants, they sit back here in main cabin, which is laid out 333 across and is made up of 198 seats. Every economy seat on the 787-9 has a PTV, a USB port, universal power outlet, as well as a controller for the touchscreen. Walking further up is a small 36-seat main cabin extra section, which provides additional legroom versus main cabin, and an even smaller 21-seat premium economy section laid out 232 on board. These seats are basically first class on most of their narrow-body fleet. While economy is limited to just that snack bag and drinks on request, first class gets a few services on this flight. After arriving back to my seat, flight attendants came by again asking if I wanted another drink, for which I happily accepted the offer, and they brought me a can of Coke.
For one round trip to get to your
Turn off your orders, it's time to go ahead and stow those signs overhead there. Use the restrooms and then make your way to the seat as the seatbelt signs will be back on here in a few minutes.
That announcement means we've just started our initial descent into DFW. So before we really start getting close, here's a look at what I've been twiddling with throughout the flight. First off, there are two ways to control the monitor. One, either by the small controller, or two, just by touching the big screen. Personally, I found the larger screen to work better, as the game controller lags a bit. As this is a wide body that routinely flies international flights, the system is equipped with a long-haul flight's worth of entertainment. This includes an abundance of movies, TV shows, and if the crew wouldn't interrupt me, music playlists, and finally games. They used to have live TV, but not anymore unfortunately, or at least not at that time. The drink selection on board can also be found on the monitor, which at the time was very good, especially when compared to Delta's water or alcohol in Delta One. Other features offered are a way to communicate with other passengers on the plane, an e-reader tab which actually has a virtual American Way on it, and a kids section. Lastly, the interactive flight map I found to be very good. When I think of American and touchscreens, responsiveness doesn't usually come to mind, but this was very nice. Not as personalized as JetBlue or as quick as Delta, but it's getting there. At this point, the flight attendants still had the windows locked. It wasn't until they were done securing the cabin that they finally unlocked them and we could see the actual color of the sky and clouds outside. And speaking of clouds, there were plenty of them as a major snowstorm was just north of the DFW area that would eventually wallop most of the country, including my final stop on this trip. But for now, let's head down to runway 17 center at American's largest hub. Well, howdy, Texas. That flight went by way quicker than I would have liked. In the past, someone once told me something about first and business class that you guys can think about for yourself. They said, whenever you make the switch to first class, it's very hard to go back to economy. I don't know who said it, but I've been thinking about this statement since I started flying more premium products recently. And honestly, I'd like to think it does not apply to me. I would have been more than happy back in main cabin on this flight, especially because it was so empty and the service was not first class caliber. Definitely not worth the price it costs to sit in the front. But is it nicer to be up here? Oh yeah, more worth it on longer flights if you have to sleep. Solely reviewing the seat though, it's a fantastic business class seat that provides just enough privacy for the passenger to get work done or some shut-eye, and is certainly better than a lot of other domestic first class products in American's fleet. Their Boeing 787-9 is one of the best. I really love the storage space found basically all around the seat, which itself is very comfortable and noticeably wider than other AA flagship business suites. The color scheme isn't a particular favorite for me, but it does give the cabin a true professional business look. One minor feature I really find awesome is when plugging your phone into the outlet, you can close the bin and there's a little slot large enough for the wire, so you don't have to keep your phone in there. Kinda a neat feature. While the service obviously wasn't what it should be, the flight attendants on board today were friendly, attentive, and seemed to like their job. I wouldn't say they went above and beyond, but they were pretty cool.
Well, that's great. I just reversed standby.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Thanks. This gate gives me very bad memories. Oh my god. Oh. If you're a longtime viewer of my channel, you'll know what I mean. But anyways, that'll conclude the first ever business and first class video I've done from here inside DFW's International Terminal, one of 5 and soon to be 6 terminals that make up this massive airport. My next flight will also be in first class, but will be a slightly different experience. So we'll pick back up from here in the next vid. I really hope you guys enjoyed coming along with me today from LA to Dallas aboard American's 787-9 in flagship business class. Thank you guys for watching, and catch ya on the next one.